Now we're being recorded. And now, um, one of the things that I've been studying a lot lately, and I mentioned it, we'll talk about that again at the end of this day, is going back and revisiting the Silva Mind method. It used to be called Silva Mind Control Method by Jose Silva, who lives in Laredo and in the 70s put together this program to help his children to learn quicker. And really, it's just using the power of the mind. And it is the same exact thing, just a few different techniques with counting that we've been looking at with the law of attraction, with the power, with the magic, all of those, all of these writings. This is a truth that has been around forever. And I believe that we have no idea how powerful we really, really are as human beings and the power we have with our mind. And this really does bring home that it's always been there. I think it's been suppressed a lot. And I think this, maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think there are so many millionaire billionaires in the world today. And I think it's all because people have learned how to harness the power of attraction, the power of our mind, that we can actually create anything and everything we want if we truly understood how to use it in our power. And it's not really that hard, but I will say this, it does take practice. So that's why we come together every week to practice and remind. I'm here to remind you of how powerful you are, because a book I read in the 70s was called Three Magic Words. And what those three magic words were by U.S. Anderson, love that book. If you haven't gotten it, he also wrote Secrets of Secrets. It's fabulous books. But it's all about the three magic words as I am God. So if you realize that we are that power, really there's nothing we can't accomplish and do. It's just we've had so much conditioning as to we're not worthy. Religion teaches us. I remember as I was a Catholic growing up, we used to beat on our chest and say, I'm not worthy. This was we had to go to when I was in Catholic school, we had to go every day during Lent to Mass. And I'm telling you, I got in trouble all the time because I was a giggling little girl, and one of my friends would always whisper something in my ear that would always make me laugh, and I'd always get in trouble. But I remember we had to go up, we had to sit there and beat on our chest, and what we would say is Kyrie eleison, and you beat three times. I'm sure nobody remembers that. If you do, you're as old as I am and you remember going to Catholic school. But what it actually means is I'm not worthy. And so all this conditioning throughout our life, our parents, our upbringing, everything conditions us to believe we don't have this power that we do absolutely have. And I'm here to remind everyone we've got to stay in touch with that. So I might as well just tell you some of the techniques that I've been practicing with Silva Mind before we look at the pictures for the week. And one of them is to start counting from 100, and you count backwards, because he says when you count backwards, it brings you deeper and deeper and deeper in your awareness, in consciousness, different levels of awareness. And I can't remember exactly what they're called, but one's the alpha level, and then you take it down to another level. And the third level, I believe, is the one where you are asleep. But before that is the level where you're about to fall asleep, but you're still aware. And actually, I've read this many, many times that Thomas Edison used to go to this meditative state, and he would hold a ball in his hand, a metal ball. And he knew that by the time he heard the metal ball drop on the ground, that he was in that state of consciousness where all the creative ideas would come. So we all have this power to go to these different levels. And the one different thing that Silva Mind teaches is that meditation, there's two types of meditation. There's the meditation that we all do that just brings us to this relaxed, peaceful state of mind. But he says to use it. So what his difference is to use meditation actively, actively to create, to manifest. And one thing that he continually says in these, writings that he wrote in the 70s is the creative process of visualization. The better you get at visualizing, the more you can create your world, what you want, and that takes practice. So visualize in your mind's eye where you want to be or what you want to create. And another thing that they say in this process is when you are meditating, to always, when your eyes are closed, to look upward. Looking upward keeps you focused, where you're not just falling off, where you have a active meditation. And another thing is to visualize. And he said to kind of think like over to one side, I believe it's to your left, is the future. I'll have to reread that, but one is your future and one is your past and one is in the center where you are now. So to go to that place in the future that manifests what you want to create. So that's the few differences, the counting backwards and keeping your gaze when you're meditating upward. And the other thing is visualizing the future, and really you don't need to worry about the past. So present and future, to gaze over in your mind's eye to your future where you want to create this. And he goes on and on talking about the right and the left brain, because we have to learn to use our creative side of our brain to manifest and create. And that's what helps us learn quicker. So that was what I wanted to share with you guys. And then I'll read something from The Power at the end that confirms everything that what I was just teaching and talking about just now. So now I want to move forward and look at the pictures that I pulled today, which are so bizarre. And it's just like, I don't know how I found these pictures in this book, because they are, well, I chose the pictures I did because they're symbolic. But I mean, wait till you see this and what we can, this is a lot of symbolism here. So let me show you this picture. It is a man upside down, looks like an older man, and a chimpanzee looking forward. I don't understand why the man's eyes are closed, but the chimpanzee's eyes are open. And I think it deals a lot with primates, being primitive, being the animal form, the animal consciousness, and the human consciousness, which is right next to the chimpanzee. It's upside down. And I don't think, and because the man's eyes are closed, I don't know, what I kind of get out of this, and I'm sure everyone will get something different because this is a really deep one. But I think it's like the primate of humanity. That's where we are. We're not in the more evolved human consciousness. And the human has his eyes closed and he's upside down. So I'm thinking what it's trying to tell us is that we are being so primitive and we are being so backwards because the man is upside down with his eyes closed, and that's humanity. Is it talking about humanity being lost and not aware? And upside down with the eyes closed, whereas the primate that isn't as intelligent as the human being has the eyes open. And maybe that just represents where our consciousness is right now as a humanity. Does that make sense? Or please let me know if you guys have a different take on that picture. And here's the other one on the other side. How does this tie in? This is really crazy, but I think it's got a lot to tell us. It looks like this was probably a photo from the movie of Schindler's List, I think. It's been a long time since I saw that movie, but it is, you know, a Nazi with his gun on a woman about to kill her. And look at her face. She doesn't know if she's going to live or die in the next second. And I don't even remember what happened in that movie, to be honest with you. It was such a horrible movie. It was so, just to think that this actually went on with a part of humanity. Maybe this means that our humanity, this is unbelievable that this actually happened in our world with the Nazis, the Jews, and the killing and experiments they did on people, to consider that our consciousness as a human, as humankind, is this evil that we kill each other. And for what? What are we really killing each other for? And I don't know if it's symbolic, but I'm sure it is. Everything in these pictures I feel like are totally symbolic, that it's a man and a woman. Okay, that's something else to consider. So those are the two pictures. This deals with suffering, death, and it deals with humanity. I think this is telling us where our humanity stands right now. We're pretty primitive, right? And this is where our humanity is right now. Still, all in all, we haven't evolved that much. We're still killing each other for what? We haven't learned the lessons that we've come here to learn, to love each other. This is horrible. This is like destruction in the deepest sense of the word, killing each other. And that's what I just say all the time. How can we be evolved if we're still killing each other? And I don't think humanity is evolved enough. And, you know, I wasn't going to show you this picture because I opened it again. And usually I just do it for one time. But I opened it again. I said, give me some more clarity. And here's what I got. So I'm thinking, you know, we might have some help from the stars, the star people, right? But they don't want us to know they're around. Why? I'll tell you why, because we're so ignorant. They look at us as we're those monkeys that don't know any better because we're still killing each other. And here is what was on the other side. I don't know what this means, a tree hugger. Maybe just getting back to nature of, you know, what's real. A tree's probably more intelligent than we are right now. Those are the pictures I see. Anyone want to add to that?
Hi, Joni. This is Ron.
Hi, Ron. Please help us out here.
The first one, the monkey one with the man, the way that I looked at that is the monkey was the way we were put on Earth to be in nature, and connected to nature and respecting it. And the man was the person that's upside down in the thinking with the eyes closed to that, which is where we basically come to.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I don't know about the Schindler's List thing. That just kind of threw me off. But
yeah.
And when you said you wanted more clarity, the stars, obviously looking to the stars for help, and then the man hugging the tree is getting back to nature, getting back to being connected.
Right. Yeah,
that's with those.
I agree with you totally about the man hugging the tree, getting back to nature, getting back to what's, you know, nature is science and God and truth. And, you know, it never fails. It always does what it's supposed to do. Uh, nature is the truth and the healer. And we have to get back to that. I agree. So anyone else want to add to this? What message we're being told for this week? Because, you know, I believe when I pull these pictures, it's trying to tell us something about each week and where we're supposed to be and what we're supposed to be learning about. Kelly?
I'm just going to add in that when I first saw those pictures, what I was looking at actually was with the you know, chimp man evolving, and then you have human upside down, right?
Right.
So it goes to show us actually what's going on within our world, right? Things are topsy-turvy, they're upside down with the way people are thinking, the way people are acting, right? Like out of touch reality, okay, gigantically, with what human nature is, right? The last picture was the tree hugger, right? With getting back to groundedness, rootedness, what feels right exactly was that message the last end. But what I found was interesting, if anybody's ever paying attention to Klaus Schwab, sorry, I can't even talk today, in the World Health Organization, of what he's about and what's going on with that. Okay, he's German, and you take the last picture, all right, and the German Nazi killing a woman. Okay, a lot of that platform is all about dehumanizing people, controlling people, you know, controlling electronics, monitoring people, you know, all of this. So when you look at like, okay, we came here as to evolve as people, as souls, as what we're just souls. We always forget that we're just souls. And then you look at what humanity's trying to conform to have one world order and put this together. That dinged right off the bat for me with what I was witnessing. And we talk about, okay, we're supposed to be here for, as you mentioned, Joni, you know, where's the love? Where are we? Where we're supposed to be. This is not our human basic necessity of life, right? We breathe love. And this is that aspect of what I'm seeing. Even the choking part, okay, they're choking that love out of us and that aspiration to be human, to who we really are supposed to be evolved. So I looked at it from that perspective.
Yeah, I get it.
Because when you look at when you look at an ape or a monkey, okay, who doesn't want to cuddle one, right? They're just beautiful. They're so cute. You know what I mean? I just read a story yesterday about an orangutan who was lost because his partner died. So there was an old dog in the zoo, and the dog, you know, they put the dog in with the orangutan, and they're like best friends. They go swimming every day. They, you know what I mean? Like that love nature, right?
Mhm.
And now I see another little chimp. But this is my perspective. I think it's really, we got to pay attention, pay attention. I say that to my clients all the time. You know what? Don't just live in this little blinder life. Okay. You got to look worldly of what's going on so those kind of differences can't change. This morning in my meditation, I don't know if anybody's been feeling really heavy, okay, about things. But I was like, my whole meditation was all about sending gigantic love out to the world. Throwing that out there because we're so sensitive, all of us in this group, we take it in.
Mhm.
So just keep blasting it, sending it, so that those kind of things, pictures that show up, and we look and to say, hey, you know what? Don't let us go down that path anymore. Which I think there's parts of our world that are already doing that. Can't not be naive that it's not happening. But I think, you know, as a bigger consciousness, we have to think differently or do differently.
Yeah, I agree with you. And yeah, I didn't think of it so much in terms of control. You know, it's like your life is threatened, and unless you follow the norm, otherwise, this is where you're going to end up, which is, it's really a crazy time on this planet right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I think
Agreed.
all of the symbols that we're getting are really trying to tell us that. And, you know, like this, isn't that interesting? From the stars, the messages, the truth will come from the stars. That's pretty amazing because I asked for clarity. And Ron said, you know, it's the truth comes from the stars. It's true. and listen to those messages. When we look at where the planets are headed for the month of March, we're going to see a lot. As a matter of fact, today, Shri and I are going to do a live YouTube YouTube at 5 o'clock Central Time to talk about the month of March, because we're about to look at the chart, and you're going to see just how extreme this next month is coming. So something's about to well, and things have been, you know, if you look at the news, things are being exposed, things are coming up, we are seeing the truth, but there's still the people in control that are trying to cover it up, you know. And it's, you know, what I say is, don't listen to the news, just look at the facts. All the opinions are different than, you know, what is really happening, what's been happening. How can they say that, and this is probably not the most positive thing for me to jump into, but how can they say that this virus didn't come from a lab in China when we have the facts that two of the scientists back in November came down, that were working in the lab, came down, first people with this virus. And I think one of them might have died. And anyone that was involved that spoke out about the virus in China was killed. Why? I mean, what does that tell you? These are facts. Let's just read the facts. Don't worry about what they're saying about it all. And that represents that there is some kind of biological warfare going on in the world. Why would they? And maybe hopefully maybe it was an accident that it got out. But why are they even creating these viruses in the first place? That's for biological warfare. That doesn't serve any good on our planet, to create these diseases. And you know, there's so many of these laboratories that they work with, and they have these diseases. They have, you know, in little vials, smallpox or leprosy. They have all of that. And we as a humanity have got to evolve and get back to this, the stars and nature, to quit trying to harm each other, to love each other. And this, you know, here it is, this kind of interesting. Looks like he's from India and we do Indian astrology. Plus he's hugging a tree. The tree is the most basic, you know. And I'll tell you something. One time, I never wanted to tell people this because it sounds like I'm crazy, but one time I was driving down the street, and it was many years ago, but it was so profound that I remember it to this day. And I glanced at a tree, and I felt everything that tree felt for a split second in time. And it was timelessness that I felt. That tree had consciousness. And I wasn't on drugs. No, I wasn't on LSD, but I actually, for a split second, truly felt everything. And it was beyond time, because it was less than a second. I immediately knew everything and felt everything that tree felt. And I've never had an experience like that before. It was just a common everyday day. I was just driving down my street, and that happened. So there's a lot to be said about, you know, understanding nature and the trees and everything that's here. They do have a consciousness, and it is nature, and it is pure, and it is always going for what nature does. It's natural, it's pure, and it's always healing. It's not about destroying. Man is the one that's destroying nature and destroying the planet, not nature, trees, birds, any of that. They just are. And maybe we need to, in our meditations, just be more connected, maybe go out for walks, but get more connected with our connection to nature. That's healing. And always to ask, but the answers are in the stars. And everything's consciousness. Everything is a part of God. The stars, the trees, the nature. But we choose to react in this kind of way. What kind of involvement in humanity? And no wonder people from the stars do not want to let their presence known, because this is who we really are. Okay, so I think that's a huge, powerful message personally. I think that tells us a lot. Anyone else want to add to the message or see things that I didn't see?
Joni, do we know if that star is Venus?
I don't know. It looks like it's a star because it looks more, planets. Well, I have no idea what it is, but it looks
Okay.
like it could be, well, I don't know, a star more than a planet, because it does seem like it shines. I was thinking it was something like one of the major stars.
Well, Venus in some spiritual beliefs is a protector of the earth.
Okay, well,
So
I hope this is Venus then, because we do
yeah.
need protection. Yeah, so I don't know, but yeah. Anyone else want to say anything? Thank you for that. I'm gonna say, okay, I hope this is Venus. And in some cultures, I think the Mayan, Venus is actually the star of war. And I can't remember if it's a morning star and an evening star. When it becomes a morning star or an evening star. I thought it was the evening star. When it became an evening star, which it is now, obviously, because we can see it, it reflects war. That's what the Mayan culture says. But somebody said no, they thought it was, I was talking to one of my friends who's a Vedic astrologer, and she says no, that's when it becomes a morning star. But I could have sworn it was an evening star. Anybody know anything about that? But that's just the Mayan culture. Okay, so anything else y'all want to add to that till we move on to the astrology? I think we kind of have a good sense of what this is indicating. Does anybody know what happened in Schindler's List with her? Did he actually kill her, or just threaten to kill her? Not that that even means anything. What it does mean is control and the possibility of death and control. Yeah. And you know how they control people the most is through death. If you don't do this, you're going to die. That's the most controlling force of all. And I always said that's what religion has always been about. If you don't do this, you're not going to go to heaven when you die. So they use death as a control mechanism to get people to do what they want them to do. Religions and governments, all of that. But this is actually, yeah, government, I would say, the German government. What were you saying, Kelly, about the German? I didn't catch that. What's going on right now with Germany or something like that?
What I was saying is Klaus Schwab, who's in charge of, World Health Organization, all of that, he's German.
Okay, now I understand.
Okay, so the correlation between Germany control that and then his background and his whole history.
Yeah.
Very, very frightening, actually. And you know what? So it's all about control. So what was the deity with Nazis? All about control.
Yeah.
And remember, at the end of that, with that movie, okay, remember he became the good guy, and he saved all a bunch of thousands and thousands of Jewish people in that movie when you watch it. So at the end, he becomes the man who kept putting them on the list. That's what they called it, Schindler's List.
Oh,
and at the end of it, so and saved.
The list involved people that he wanted to save. Is that right?
Yeah, no, but what he kept doing is he kept putting them on as the workers that he needed in the movie, and basically lying because he needed to save all of them to run his factory. And then it turned out at the end he saved all of these thousands and thousands of Jewish people.
And that really happened?
True.
Cool.
Yeah, and you know,
Mhm.
this is Joni, and you know, he was buried in Israel.
He was buried in Israel. Is that what you said, Janine?
Yeah,
Interesting. I did not know any of
buried.
this. Fascinating.
Yeah.
Okay. Love that. And this is very meaningful. Okay. Wow. So, you know,
I actually know Schindler Jew that survived, like the dad. He just passed on, but he's a billionaire. Like opened all these banks and everything, and did a lot of charity and stuff in the United States.
wow. Fascinating.
My friend Alan Wildzig's dad or whatever, and they wrote a book about it. And he's one of the people portrayed in the movie.
Yes. And you know something else, thinking about this, I was just talking to somebody yesterday. One of my clients is in another country. I probably should, I'm not going to even say that, I'm not gonna talk about that. But what I do want to say, what I was talking about with her, is that the Asuras and the Devas in Vedic astrology, the Asuras are part of the Asuras are the demons, right? And Venus rules that group. And the Devas are the Devas are the angels, and Jupiter rules that group in Vedic astrology. But what happened in the Vedic myth was that they were always at odds with each other, the devils and the angels, in other words. And in the end, they were fighting over Amrita, which is it's the sort of like it's what you drink for immortality. Okay, so Amrita is what they were both after. And in the end, you know, you're thinking, oh, the Devas are so great, they're so spiritual. But in the end, the Devas actually tricked the Asuras to steal the Amrita, which gave them immortality. So the reason why I'm bringing this up, it's kind of relative to this, is that who you think the good guy is may not be the good guy, and vice versa. It could be totally opposite of what we're thinking, because that's the story in the myth of the Asuras and the Devas. So I think, you know, what that's telling us, maybe that's what this is telling us as well. Who we think the good guy is may be the bad guy, and vice versa. Maybe I'm making too much of this. Sometimes I'm reading too much into it, but whatever we think, let's look at the astrology from here. And please, if you want to say something, please be my guest.
Well, it is interesting that that Venus is in the camp of the evil ones, because Venus represents love. So
Right, isn't that interesting? Yeah, that's
yeah.
a good point. Venus is the planet in astrology that rules marriage and love and relationships. True. So what does that tell us? Okay, so here is the chart for the day. Today's the last day of February, the 28th. So we started at 12 noon. And, you know, looking at this, we have the ascendant. Wow, I didn't even see that. Is exactly the degree of Mars. What does that tell us? Action. Things are going to start moving forward really quick. Mars is action. And thank God Mars is direct. It's not retrograde anymore. It's in Taurus. And yes, this is incredible. So the Jupiter Venus that are in a, you know, they're conjunct. They are not in Cassimi. They're not in a planetary war yet, but they're conjunct. And when they come together and they're the same degree, they will be in a planetary war. And what that means is the planets are fighting against each other. Okay. And these are the two benefics. So what does that kind of mean? That's the two benefics fighting for who's right and who's the good guy, who's the bad guy. We're just, hey, that's so weird. I even just brought up the Asuras and the Devas. And there they are on top of each other, and they're about to go into a planetary war. So that's kind of symbolic that there will be kind of like a planetary war between the good and the evil, the Asuras and the Devas, when we get Venus and Jupiter together. Interesting. I think I might talk about that tonight, since I just realized that. And then the other aspect of what's happening here is the moon. The moon sits right here at 1 degree. And I think that's really, really important, because that 1 degree of Gemini is actually the degree that Mars stationed when it turned retrograde before it went into Taurus. So Mars being there the moon being there tells me that there's something from the retrograde process. Retrograde means things that have happened before that is about to come up emotionally for everyone. And in the month of March, I believe it's around the 14th, the moon is going to return. Is it the moon? Yeah, I think it is the moon. Yes, around the 14th of March. You know what? I'm going to even pull up that day because it's such a powerful day in March. Let me see. Okay. It's the 14th or the 13th. I'm not sure. Okay. So no, it's not the moon, but it's Mars that will be about 0 degrees. And here, I think I showed this chart to you guys before, but I'm going to show it again. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to pull out my tools, time tool, and I'm going to move the moon to where it opposes Mars. So that's in the next 2 weeks that we get the moon to go to the opposite position. So it's going to be just hours that this happens. Okay, so see this chart where the moon and Mars are exactly opposed and they're both squaring the sun, all at 0 degrees, Mars, moon, sun. This is a big trigger. It's what's called in astrology a T-square, where you have 2 planets in opposition and a third variable that squares it. But most of all, that sun sits with Neptune. Exactly. So all 4 planets are at 0 degrees, and this is a big trigger of something around the 13th, around March 14th through the 15th. Okay, something's due to happen at this time. And while Mars is even there, it's going to move up to where it's going to be aspecting within about, a week later. It will be it will be in a quincunx to Pluto. Mars Pluto could be very dangerous. And then I also think there was something to do with K2, yes, aspecting the same position. Hold on a second. I can't remember what it was. It's actually in my predictions that probably if you all get my newsletter, it's going to come out. Is it coming out? Yeah, today around 3. And I mentioned a particular time and an aspect that will be happening. And it's around this time, and something's going to happen with world leadership at that time. So you'll see something's about to drastically change. And then after I wrote it and put it out there, I thought, oh, that's probably going to be when Carter dies. Because I said, something was going to happen to a world leader. And then, you have to know that President Carter's in hospice right now. But I wasn't thinking about Carter when I wrote it. So anyway, that's that. Let's go back to this, because this is the chart that we need to know about what's going to be happening for us. So I like the fact that the Jupiter Venus are influencing each other. in the 11th house. And Venus, by the way, is exalted. By the fact that it's in Pisces means it's in the strongest sign it can be in. And it's expanded in awareness with Jupiter, Jupiter being in Pisces, its rulership sign. So those two planets are really, really strong. They're together influencing each other, but they're in the 11th house, which is the house of groups and organizations. So us coming together with the thoughts of healing and love and trying to make the world a better place is what groups are capable of doing right now. That's what I get out of that. And Venus rules this chart because it's Taurus rising. So Venus is the chart ruler, is exalted in the 11th house of groups and organizations and people coming together. And it's in Pisces. Pisces is the last most powerful sign for spirituality, in my opinion. And Jupiter is right now, it's entered into Revati, which is the last nakshatra of all 27 nakshatras. So because it's the last sign, the last nakshatra, things are coming to an end. There's closure on so many things that have been happening over the course of the past few years. There's like an amazing amount of healing, I think, that's coming from this Jupiter-Venus conjunction. And also in this chart, the Sun and Saturn are together in the 10th house, the Sun being rulership and leadership, Saturn being the planet that is government, rules the 10th, ruler of the 10th and the 10th with the Sun. There's going to be a change in power in the world and in government leadership. That's what I get from this chart. And I think it's going to be happening soon. So even so, Mars is right on the ascendant. Something's about to happen quickly, to our surprise. And even Mars, I know a lot of you don't know Vedic astrology, so forgive me if I'm going over my bounds with meanings and stuff. But Mars actually rules that nakshatra Mrigashira that represents Mrigashira. It rules it, so it's more powerful in this particular nakshatra, and it's going to be in this nakshatra for a while, because Mrigashira even extends into Gemini. But that's a powerful placement. In other words, what that means is Mars is stronger in that nakshatra, and it can produce better and stronger results. Now, Mars can deal with anger, it can deal with fighting, weapons, things of that nature. But I think, we want a strong Mars to get things done. Mars has been weakened for so long, nothing could get accomplished or done. And especially even with, the wars and everything that are being fought, everything's just kind of at a standstill. So this means things are going to start heating up, and there's going to be a lot of quick, fast action happening. So let me see. Is there anything else going on here? Another thing is the nodes, Rahu and Ketu. Y'all probably don't know this, but they're slowing down because in April, we're going to have a solar eclipse. And every time we get within a couple of months, a month or two from a solar eclipse, Rahu and Ketu start to slow down and actually become stationary. Rahu is going to be at 11 and 10 degrees for about the next 4 months, you'll see. So those are very, very important degrees, and they become more powerful around the time of eclipses. So things are starting to really heat up and become much, much, much more powerful. And then you're going to see in March, where we'll be talking about this in the next few weeks, Venus is going to go into Aries with Rahu and Uranus. We're going to see more issues and problems around travel and air travel. So be aware of that. Pick good days when you're going to be traveling. So not that everybody's going to die in an airplane crash. It's ridiculous. But, just choose good days that you're planning on leaving or going places. Okay. So, anything else? Anybody want to add to what I'm seeing here? I do like the moon being in Gemini, by the way, because Gemini is the sign of communication. So a lot of the truth and what's been trying to be communicated will come out. And here's another thing. I've been studying a lot about Prashna and Muhurta, and I know if you're not in my classes, you don't have a clue what I'm talking about. But what that is the question chart. Astrology can be so useful because we actually have a tool and technique. And in Western astrology, it's called horary. In Vedic, it's called prashna. And when you cast a chart, such as I did today, I ask the question of what we need to know for the next week. That's a prashna. And in this chart, it's very meaningful what it will be talking about. And one of the things in a prashna chart that you look at is applying and separating aspects. And I know probably that means nothing to most of you, but I do want you to know, just if you don't know what I'm talking about, that the moon being 1 degree of Gemini, it means it's getting ready to move forward. And the moon is the fastest moving planet in this chart. So as it's moving, Mercury is fast, but it's slower than the moon, but it sits here at 2 degrees. So the moon to this Mercury is actually in a trine aspect, a very powerful aspect. But the most important thing to know is it's applying, because in Prashna, you know, once it's like separating, it's over with. But this one's applying, and this one's really tight. So just for those that don't know a thing about astrology, just get this message out of it, that everything to do with communications is about to come out, and it's about to be positive information that is true, that we have been searching and needing, because both these planets, Moon and Mercury, well, first of all, the moon is in the sign of communications, Gemini, and Mercury is a planet that rules Gemini, therefore it's a planet of communications. And the fact that in this Prashna chart, they're applying an aspect very tightly, this means something huge is about to come out in the area of communications in the world. And it is actually, the moon will then aspect Saturn afterwards. It's actually in an applying aspect to Saturn as well, when the moon hits 5 degrees. And that's going to be that it's useful information and it's about government. That's what I get with Saturn and that Mercury. A lot to get out of a chart, right? Because that's huge. And here's another thing. K2 and the sun are in trine. So we've got this trine going on with all the air signs, and that's important. Air represents communications, and that's what's about to really, really come out. So anyone else want to add to what I just dissected here?
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
So I have not shared, but I've been in a abusive relationship for years that I haven't been able to get out of. And I got a restraining order on the 17th, and the court date was supposed to be today. And I guess in the next few months, I'm hoping that the truth comes out. Would it work with that too? And if Mars is one of my big signs or whatever, when I had my chart done?
Yeah, well, I don't think that this question chart applies personally to you, because you would have to be in front of me asking the question in a prashna situation.
I
But
just mean in general, like you're saying it would come out about government, but would it also come
Yeah.
out for individuals that have been seeking for the truth to come out?
probably, but you know, this is like, your court was canceled, is that right?
Adjourned for today, but like astrology wise, Emily told me it was going to be like a good day for that,
Yeah.
but it was adjourned. And then, so I didn't know, like going forward, like all this communication stuff that would be coming out.
Yeah. Well, it could. I'll give it that, just because the planets are in this good, you know, aspects to each other. But what was I going to say about that? But you know, if you ask the question as to what the outcome will be, and right before, and this is a prashna, that can be answered. That's why I know prashna is such a useful tool to use in astrology. But
So when would I do that? Like the day before I find out about the next situation, I would try to do a prashna?
Yeah, yeah. But you have to sit in front of your astrologer, and of course it's probably on the phone or on Zoom, but you have to sincerely ask the question, and then the chart is drawn up for that time. And there's all sorts of crazy rules with prashna, and we're going to go over that, by the way, in our class tomorrow. But there's all sorts of crazy rules, like mutable signs, mutable houses, cardinal, fixed, mutable, all this stuff comes into play. And it's very complex. So I can't say that I can answer your question from this chart, but I asked the question as to what we're looking forward to in the world for the next week, and personally. So maybe it does apply to you, because we're all here together and we're all seeking the truth. And it's all in air signs. And yes, while the moon will only be in Gemini for the next 2 days, 2.5 days. Okay. But Mercury in Aquarius with Saturn, as Mercury comes together with Saturn in the next 3 days, there will be a lot of truth coming out, because Mercury moves about 1 degree per day. And so about 3 days from now, it'll be exactly on Saturn. It moves a little faster than that, so 2.5 days. But when it comes together with Saturn, Saturn is the truth, Saturn is reality, and Mercury is communications. So the reality of communications will come out in 3 days. And even Mercury, well, Mercury's going to catch, it's not going to catch up to the sun for a while, because they kind of travel the same rate of speed. They kind of stay, you can't just say that the sun is, but still, if you use this as a birth chart, you could, but I don't think we're going there with all that. So this is so complicated when you get into the rhyme and reason of astrology. But the prashna for today looks good for people coming together with, bringing love and truth together. So here's the thing: we really have to be honest about our truths, and always come from a place of love. So if you're coming from that place, then you're going to win out regardless. The good will always overcome the evil. And here's where I want to go with the power, because I know I keep using this book. Rhonda Byrne writes all these books, but they're all basically the same thing. It's all about that love is the thing that heals. But what I was really getting out of this, and maybe this can be helpful for all of you this week, the power and creation. One of the things about us human beings that we have to understand is when we're here in this earthly dimension, we have the power to create. And I've heard, now I don't know if this is truth or not, but I've heard this, that's one of the things when you're on the other side that you miss. You miss being able to create. And this world is all about manifestation through creating things. So we have the power to create while we're here. And we also have the power of love and touch, where, when you're on the other side, you don't have a flesh human body where you love and touch and all of those things. It's more it's like you're like a light or something. You don't have the physical touch and body, but we're here to create. And so here is what is so simple. And if we're trying to create something and heal something, end something, anything, this is what you do with the creative process to bring a specific desire to you. Follow the simple steps of the creation process, whether it's bringing something you want or changing something you don't want. The process is always the same. And here it is, the creation process. Imagine it, feel it, receive it. Remember what I said about the silver mine at the beginning. I was referring to the fact that we have to imagine it. So you imagine your world the way you want it to be, peaceful, loving, happy. That's what you have to imagine. Visualize it in great detail. Here, I'll take it off this share where we can actually look at each other. So number one, imagine. Use your mind to focus on and imagine what you desire. Imagine yourself being with your desire. Imagine yourself doing things that with your desire. Imagine yourself having your desire. Number two, feel. At the same time as you imagine, you must feel love for what you're imagining. You must imagine and feel being with your desire. You must imagine and feel doing things with your desire. You must imagine and feel. Remember, feel is the magic that makes it happen. You must imagine and feel having your desire. We have to really come from a place. And this is so interesting because it's exactly what the silver mine techniques we're talking about. You must feel it. Your imagination connects you with what you want. Your desire and feelings of love create the magnetism, the magnetic power drawing your desire to you. This completes your part of the creation process. Next, the third and last thing, receive. The force of love will work through the visible and invisible forces of nature to bring what you desire to you. It will use circumstances, events, and people to give you what you love to you. So it's just really that simple. So we all have to really get in touch with feeling what we want to desire, visualizing it, and then receive it. It's really all that simple, but we complicate things. And as I said, we've been so conditioned our whole life to think we don't deserve what we want. It's crazy how this world operates. So Lynn, in this message, I want you to visualize what you want to create, because this is your power, to take your power back, to visualize what you want. And I know what you want. You want love, you want happiness, you want this to be over so that you can move on and get the desired things of the happiness and love in this lifetime that you know you deserve. So receive it. Practice this over and over and over again. And regardless of what the planets are saying, you're going to get what you want. Because and actually, you know, I think when I look at the astrology of things, to start to do things during a good time astrologically just makes it easier for us to visualize and create. So this is a good time for us to visualize and create what we really want out of life right now. Because, well, number one, none of the planets are retrograde right now. They're all moving forward. So now it's time for us to move forward and to create and manifest our desires, okay? The next thing is Mars. Mars is moving faster forward. Mars is the planet that gives us energy and a trigger. It gives us ambition, drive. It gives us, you know, what we really want. Mars, remember, Mars is the red planet, and it deals with action. What is red? Blood. That's like what courses through our body, what gives us energy, drive, ambition. Mars is moving forward. And by the 12th of March, Mars is going to move into the sign of Gemini. So we will all be able to express ourselves easier, quicker, because Gemini is the sign of communications. So Mars will be in Gemini from March 12th to May 10th. So use that time to express, get information out there, write. You know, Gemini is a sign of writing. Write out what you want to manifest. Do some journaling. Visualize anything that helps you visualize more clearly what you want to manifest in your life. Now is the time. And what a beautiful combination today that we have Jupiter and Venus they're not quite combust yet. They're empowering each other. When, well, actually a combustion's with the sun, excuse me. But what I meant to say, Cassimi, when they are together, it's Cassimi. And actually, no, excuse me, Cassimi's with the sun again. I keep getting confused. What I meant to say is planetary war. When two planets are on top of each other, they fight against each other. So there's a time period when about 3 days that there will be a planetary war, and this is coming up in the next few days. So be aware there'll be a big war between the Asuras and the Devas, which is a fight for darkness and light, good and evil. It's going to become very vivid in our world. So watch for that in the next few days. And just always pray with good intention. May the best thing for the world come and heal our planet, because we need it. Going back to this, I think we're upside down with what we've been doing. And maybe we need to just really come together with the truth of nature, and don't let ourselves be controlled by what we're being directed towards, because really the only thing, I forgot, where's the other picture? Hold on. Okay, that. Oh,
I didn't see those originally, but like the biggest things for me in my relationship is the control, and that he always had his hands physically around my neck.
Oh, that's
That
horrible.
just
Okay.
feels.
You have got to move on from that. You do not need to be controlled. And, the neck, in my opinion, means our throat, what we have to say, you were being blocked too. So, but this is what we need to come to. This is the end result. Loving the purity of this world, nature. And that's what we are. And that's what we have to return to from all the craziness and control, manipulation, and the stars are going to help guide us. So that's everything I want to say today. Anything anyone wants to add before we close? And last week we did a beautiful meditation. Maybe we should do it again this week, because everything looks pretty intense. And so I just want to put some affirmations out to the world. Let's close our eyes. And what I want to put out in our prayer work, because looking at where the planets are, Jupiter and Venus in that Prashna chart, we're together in the 11th house. The 11th house is groups and organizations and people. So coming together, I want to just put out there, may the divinity that is in all of us bring us together with love and connection. And may the divine that knows what is for our highest good direct us, direct the world for whatever is for the highest good of planet Earth, but essentially to bring people together with the power of love and compassion and healing our world, our people, and making this planet a place of love and happiness for all of us. And this can be achieved. The more of us that put out that heartfelt and feel it, feel the love. That's what we have to do. We have to feel the unconditional love being put out to heal humanity, because that's what we need right now. And so it is. Okay, I think that simple prayer, just saying, that this is our heartfelt desire. May the divine guide us all and guide us all to the highest good for all of us individually and also collectively as a planet and for humanity. May we turn this world right side up instead of upside down, and experience a healing. during these incredibly transformational times on planet Earth. So thank you everyone for being here again. I really cherish this time with all of you because this is a really powerful group, and I think we're going to make a difference. Janine,
Yeah.
did you want to say something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, how do I get to listen to what happened today? You know, how can I listen? Like last week, I was late and I have prior commitment. I cannot be there on time, and I want to hear each time. If we, you know, I miss it each time.
Bill,
Important.
Sheree sends it out to everyone. And last week there was a couple of people that said they didn't get it, but I got it. So
That's
here's what I
right.
want you to do. I want you to check your junk mail, okay? Because I always forget to check my junk mail, and usually what I thought I didn't get is there. Did you check your junk mail as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay, well, you know what? Right when we finish today, I'm going to email Sheree and say, please remember today. I download the recording and then I send it to her, and I'm going to say, make sure you send it to everyone. And I know.
What about tonight? Yeah. What about tonight at 5 o'clock? And is there, I just go, where do I go to listen to what you're going to be?
My YouTube channel.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. But it's not, okay. It's not going to show up tonight. I mean, you're doing it tonight, but it's not going to be,
It's
yeah,
live.
it's going to be live.
It's live.
I see.
Yes. So
Okay.
remember, I don't know
Okay.
where you are, but it's 5 Central Time that we're going to do it. So look at
Okay. I'm Easter time.
Okay,
Yeah.
so it's going to be what, 6 your time?
Yes, yeah.
Perfect.
Okay, thank you very, very, very much.
You're
I'm
so
so happy is not grateful to be in your group. Thank you.
You're precious. Thank you. And you know, let me say this, when we have gratitude, what is that feeling? What does that emotion emit? More prosperity into your life. So the more we're grateful, the more we come from a place of gratitude, the more prosperity and goodness that we will generate and create in our life. So thank you, Janine. You're blessed by that emotion and feeling, heartfelt feeling of gratitude. It's going to come back to you tenfold. And I know everyone else feels the same emotion. Let's keep it going. Okay. All right, everyone.
Yes.
Thank you for being
Thank
here
you.
today, and I'll see you next week.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.